put in that category, but it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen today. You could see so far this morning. Now, just to kind of finish this, what she's basically saying is that, which I also agree with too, is that the back end of this month, I think is still going to be, I don't think we got the all clear. I think it's still going to kind of live up to what we've been seeing the last few months. But for now, you can look for a lot of either day trades or, things that could kind of run a little bit, and just be mindful that, well, listen, I can't tell you guys what to do. I don't give advice or recommendations, but that's my thought, is maybe to participate in some of these things, but make sure you take a good portion of the trade off. Maybe leave a runner in some of the in some of the super high growth names. All right. So S&P's hanging in here flat. NASDAQ is also flat, but I don't think that really, like, if you look at what's going on here, I don't think that's, I would watch the small caps today. So here's some things before I get into some individual names. I would watch the small caps, right, to see if they had such momentum yesterday. I would watch for continuation there. And I would also watch the ARK ETF to see if that continues to go, right? If that stuff is up, starts to run in the first hour, you kind of know, may be able to kind of give you a tell on what kind of day you get. Now, if this thing starts running in the first 10 minutes and then kind of stalls and starts to go lower, I think that's also a good indicator that maybe this was just a one-day move. I'm in the camp that I think things can run for another day. If you look at, I'm sorry to say this term, and I said it on Twitter already, and I know people are going to hassle me over this, but all these bag holder names, right? Like the Fubo, right? Some of these things are up this morning. And now they have to get through resistance, but CCIV, which is, you got resistance here at 2046. So again, I'm just covering some different names because they were so hot yesterday. But if you like the CCIV, and again, look at a lot of these charts, they don't fit my system. They're really beaten up. But we know that really beaten up names can bounce, and they can bounce for 1, 2, 3 days sometimes, right? So that's, I think, so I wouldn't touch this name for a swing trade with, with anybody's money for a swing trade. But I think that these things, some of them could run. Sure, the pot stocks fall in that category too. So this is one, but I would watch, so the MarketWebs will give you an excellent, what we refer to as a roadmap. So if you like this name and you want to play it for a bounce, for example, because everybody's talking about it on Twitter, 2042 would be the level to watch. Skills is moving up, right? Look at what Skills is doing, right? So it's up to 19 and a half, right? So again, classic short squeeze, going on in this. And what's interesting too is, all of the names that the ARK, comes out with the daily file, like the ads, what happened a few months ago, right? All these names were being, like, stupidly, in my opinion, were running after that file would go out. Well, we're starting to, this was one name, I think, that I didn't look at the whole file, but I heard that this was one of the names that they added. So this thing is running. So it just kind of shows you, tells you right now that there's an appetite going on for this type of stuff. Okay, so Skills, you could see, has made it slice through the 1 hour value area. It also took out a VPOC and hesitated just for a little bit and kept going. Okay, so I think, I would be, it wouldn't be responsible of me not to mention some of these moves going on this morning. So even though I probably won't be playing in the sandbox with a lot of these names, but DraftKings is another name. Look at DraftKings this morning, is up to 59 and a half. So again, if you're looking for day trades, right, really quick, fast trades, scalping, forget about, I guess, and again, being that these names are really not in my wheelhouse of what I like to do, because they're really, Twitter driven, they're Reddit driven, which is really not stuff that I like to focus on. Hey, if they're going to have momentum in them, take a look at levels and so on and so forth. Let's see what else. What other CGC, right? There's a VPOC that was taken out here. So again, that name is basically flat coming into today, but you got a big green bar there. A couple here's another idea that we saw some call buying, so this is the way I kind of play with some of this stuff. This ice, like if I'm going to participate, right, I usually use option activity as a little bit of a guide for some of the speculative stuff. But you could see this ICLN, which we have been seeing call buying in over the last week, which hasn't really worked yet, because you could see this chart hasn't really moved. But this would be something that might catch for the day, right? It's also Earth Day, so clean energy. I don't know. There's a little bit of a theme there going on, but if you look at a name like DQ, probably the most speculative solar name, right? If you want a day trade, and again, you have to position size this stuff. It's so important. But look at this thing. It's up to 77 this morning. Jeffries comes out with, I think, a 106, 108 price target. Doesn't matter. But you could see it's moving, right? Not really look to swing trade. It's too risky for me to try to swing trade something like this. But I think that, for a day trade, it could have momentum. And then like my philosophy is, if you put something on for, a day trade because it's a risky name, it's a really high volatile name, such as a DQ is, what you could do is, if you had a really nice winner, you could leave the last portion of the trade on. But again, I view these things as very high risk. If you want to go a little bit further down the totem pole in terms of not as high momentum, risky, a CSIQ looks interesting. What's another? ENPH started to look pretty good, right? So this could be, again, I mean, look at ENPH this morning. It's up to 159, right? So you have your kind of pick if that's what you want to do for the day. All right. But again, keep your discipline with this stuff. All right. That would be something that I would be looking at, like a DQ. What else? A fuel cell, right? Look at what fuel cell is doing this morning. Okay. So that's the theme that I see for today, right? Is to watch some of these things. All right. Fuel cell you could trade versus 958. Again, another beaten up name. They're all of these things have moved the same exact way, right? They're so similar. The charts are absolutely disgusting, but they could definitely bounce, right? So you guys getting them, that's the message of the day. Now, do I know how long this could go on for? Could be 2 to 3 days, right? And again, I would watch the ARK fund, and I would watch a little bit of maybe IWO, right? Or IWM you could also watch too. Okay, so that kind of gives you a plan for the day. Let me talk a little bit about earnings names.